Welcome back to my channel. So I'm very happy to report that the end of the school year is coming up very quickly for me. The last day of school for students is June 14th, and then the last day of school for teachers is June 15th. We all know the end of the school year can be super hectic. Your students have a ton of events going on, plus you're trying to fit in all of your end of the year responsibilities, and it feels like your to-do list is a mile long. So I decided to make this video for you guys to give you my best tips for the end of the school year. Now, honestly, it's kind of hard to fit this all into just one video because there's so many different components with the end of the school year. There's organizing, there's cleaning, there's prepping stuff for next year. So bear with me, I'm gonna do the best that I can to fit it all in here. Now, obviously, the end of the school year is different depending on what district you are at. Personally, we are given an end of the year checklist by administration that is due on the very last day of school. Now, personally at my school, we do have to have everything off of the floor with the exception of big furniture items. So things like teacher desk, tables, chairs, those we can leave because obviously the custodian is going to take those out for us, but we have to get everything else off the floor. So I know personally I'm shoving stuff into cabinets, I'm shoving stuff into the closet, and I'm putting stuff on the back countertops and literally stacking it up as high as it will possibly go. Now, anything that doesn't fit in those places has to go into my hallway closet. So personally, my school is broken into wings, and each wing has a closet that all of the teachers in that wing share and they can use to store extra materials. I know personally, I end up having to put some of my rolling carts into that closet along with all of the rugs I have in my classroom. We also can leave some things up on the wall unless for some reason a wall is being repaired or repainted. We can also leave bulletin boards up, which is a huge savior. We do have to cover them, and we do have to lock all of our cabinets and all of our drawers. The school that I'm currently at, the past 2 years that I've been there, has been used for summer school. So we have to make sure that everything is a way that we wouldn't want another teacher or other students using. Now, obviously, I'm in a little bit of a different position this year. I'm not packing up my classroom at the end of the year to get ready for the next year like I usually would. I'm packing up my classroom to move. So what that means is I have to pack up everything and take all of my personal belongings with me. Now, I have had some newer subscribers ask me why I am moving schools, so I thought I would just kind of quickly tell you in case you didn't already know. My boyfriend and I are moving to another part of the state because he needs to be closer to DC for job opportunities. It has nothing to do with my current school or anything like that. It's just a personal decision that he and I made together, and honestly, I'm really excited for a fresh start. Now, if you watched my classroom vlog from this week, you know that I've officially started my packing up process, and you're gonna see a lot more of that in my vlogs in the next 3 weeks. But in this video, I'm gonna break it down for you guys, and I'm gonna give you 15 of my best tips for staying organized at the end of the school year. I have made a TPT product to go along with this. It has tons of checklists and forms that you can use at the end of the year to stay organized. I am gonna show you some of them in this video, but there are tons of other ones that I'm not even gonna show you guys. So if you are interested in that product, I have linked it for you down in the description box. So the first tip I have for you guys is to make lists for everything. And when I say everything, I literally mean everything. I know personally at the end of the year, I'm just so overwhelmed with everything going on that if I do not write it down and put it on a list, I'm going to forget about it. So in my end of the year organizational pack on TPT, I do have an end of the year checklist, and I'm gonna show you guys just a little bit of what is on this, and I do reference some other checklists on this page that I have included in the pack as well. So I personally broke the checklist down into a couple of different categories. I have things to organize, things to clean, data to finalize, copies and lists to make, electronics to care for, and miscellaneous. So under things to organize, I have things like cleaning out student desks, cleaning out mailboxes, student cubbies, going through your indoor recess games and making sure you have all of the pieces there, going through your filing cabinet, cleaning out cabinets, cleaning out closets. I guarantee you, if you leave those a mess, you are going to regret it in the fall. So under things to clean, I have things like wiping out the insides of bins and containers, throwing out old supplies, and even going through any containers you may have in the refrigerator. Under data to finalize, I have things like completing your grades, adding comments, getting your report cards done, getting your permanent records ready to go and move to the next grade level. So under copies and lists to make, I mentioned things like getting stuff ready for your students for the summer, any reading packets that you may give them, get stuff ready for open house, make your copies for the first week of school, and then I also mentioned a few lists that you should make. I recommend making a list of supplies that you need because sometimes when you actually get to the store, you can't remember what you're low on and you end up stocking up on things that you already had a ton of. And I also recommend making a summer shopping shopping list. So I personally have this checklist. So I have classroom supplies, classroom organization, classroom decor, and then miscellaneous, so that when I think of things that I need for my classroom, I'm able to put them down on this list and keep it nice and organized. Under electronics to care for, I have unplugging all of the electronics. That is a big one. And then also returning any electronics if your school requires that. Then under miscellaneous, I have things like repairing damaged library books, writing thank you notes for any gifts that you get, getting your calendar ready to go for back to school, and then taking home any materials that you want to have access to over the summer. My second tip for you is to start early and break it into chunks. In my classroom vlog from this past week, I talked briefly about how in the past I didn't like to start packing up my room until the very last minute. There's something about the magic of your classroom when it is all put together and all decorated, and I don't like to ruin that for students. I don't like for them to see like the bare bones of my classroom. However, I will say that waiting until the last minute is super stressful and I don't recommend it. That's why this year I've started packing up much earlier. I do recommend starting at least like a month before the last day of school. I will even admit I waited kind of long this year. I ideally should have started closer to the beginning of May, but that just goes to show you it sneaks up on you very quickly. But if you start early, you can break it down into small chunks and it's not going to feel so overwhelming. So in my end of the year organizational pack, I did include some different checklists. So this is an end of the year to-do list, and I have them for so many different options. So this one says month of May. So I have them for different months. I have them for like month of April, month of May, month of June. If you want to break it down that way. I also have it by week. So I have it for like the first week of June, the second week of June, and so on. Plus I have ones that are just like daily to-do lists. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. That way you can have like your bigger to-do list and then you can break that down into smaller chunks. What am I doing for the whole month? What am I doing this week? And then what am I doing today? Now, of course, all of these checklists I am showing you are editable. So I have like the pre-made ones like this where you can just print them out and handwrite them in, but I also have editable ones that you can type up on the computer and then print out. I also have this to-do list that I really like, and this one has all of the days of the week on one page, and I really like that I can see the entire week all together, and then that way if I don't finish something on Monday, I can move it down to the next day and so on. Tip number 3 is to take pictures of your room. This one is huge, and I feel like I'm gonna say that for every tip, but seriously, it is super important that you take pictures of your classroom. That way when you come in the fall, you know exactly where stuff goes. You can make small adjustments or changes if you want to, but for the most part, you know exactly where everything goes, and it makes it so much easier to put your room back together. Plus, then if you have your friends or your parents that are helping you to put your classroom back together, you can just show them the pictures and they can put stuff back without asking you. I personally also like to take a video of my classroom in addition to pictures. I will literally just hold like my phone and videotape and walk around my classroom and show every single part. Tip number 4 is to make a map for the custodians. If you take a piece of paper and just draw out where all of your main furniture pieces go and leave it on your desk, it's going to make it so much easier for your custodians to put the furniture back after they take it out to clean the floors and wax them. I guarantee you, if you leave a map with the location of all of the furniture pieces in your room will be one of the first ones that they put the furniture back in. Tip number 5 is have students help you. Seriously, I don't care what grade level you teach, your students can help you with something and they're eager to help you. Plus, at the end of the school year, there gets to be a point where you're literally just trying to like keep them engaged in anything. You don't even care what it is. You're just trying to keep them occupied, and cleaning and organizing is perfect for that. So my end of the year organizational pack does include a student job checklist, and I broke it into 4 categories again. I have things to organize, things to clean, supplies to store, and then miscellaneous. Some of my favorite things that I have my students help with is going through my markers and testing them all to see which ones still work and which ones are dried up. They go through my crayons and they throw away the little pieces. They sharpen pencils, they wipe down shelves and desks and tables. I have them reorganize my library and make sure all of the books are in the right places. And possibly their favorite is to go through all of my indoor recess games and any of my math games and play them and make sure that all of the pieces are still there. Tip number 6 kind of goes along with that. Don't be afraid to ask for parent volunteers. If it kind of sneaks up on you and all of a sudden you realize your to-do list is like this long and you don't have enough time to do it, ask for help. Ask if any of the parents would be willing to come in and help you, even if it's just things like making copies that you're going to use for the next school year. Tip number 7 is to give away or donate as much as you possibly can. Now, obviously, if you are a first-year teacher, you may not have that much at the end of the school year to give away, But I guarantee you, after your second and third year, which I'm not even that far in, I've literally only been teaching 3 years, and I have so much stuff, like it piles up so quickly. So go through your things. If you haven't used it in the past year, I can almost guarantee you that you can get rid of it and you're not gonna miss it. I know something that we personally do at my school is the teachers will take any items that they want to get rid of and they will put them in the teacher's lounge. And then we all know that that area is like free to take. So anything that's in there that you want, you can take. And then anything you have that you don't need, you can put in there. If at the very end of the school year, there is stuff that still no one has claimed, at that point, I would just recommend donating it to a place like Goodwill. Tip number 8 is to stop grading so much. For the last marking term, I really like to get in a ton of grades at the very beginning because I know as the end of the school year gets closer and closer, there's gonna be more assemblies, there's gonna be more field trips, field day, all that. And I'm not gonna be able to get as many grades. So I like to stock up on them at the beginning. And then that way at the end of the school year, I'm really not grading a lot. Like you guys have probably noticed that in my vlogs, I don't have a lot to grade and that's okay. Like you don't have to be grading tons of stuff every single week. The less time you spend grading, the more time you will have to start cleaning and organizing and packing up your classroom. Tip number 9 is to set aside time to reflect on your year. In my end of the year pack, I did include some reflection sheets that you can use just to organize your thoughts. It's good to reflect on what went really well and what you want to continue to do in the future, but also what didn't go so well and things that you might want to change for next school year. It's better to do it while it is fresh in your mind because I guarantee you at the end of the summer, you're not going to remember as well. Tip number 10 is to label everything. Obviously, you want to label all of your containers that hold your supplies and all of your bins, and you also want to label all of your boxes because you want to know what is in them and it will make it that much easier for you to unpack in the fall. I also recommend labeling all of your furniture because if you don't put your name and room number on it, it may not make it back into your classroom in the fall. So personally, I take a piece of tape and I stick it on all of my furniture, so all of my bookshelves, my filing cabinet, all of that, all of the tables, it all has my name and my room number on it. That way I can guarantee that it will make it back into my room. Tip number 11 is to make an essential supplies box. So what I mean by that is to have a box that has all of the essential things that you need right at the start of the school year so that worst come to worst, if you only get that box unpacked, you will be okay. I personally like to take this box home with me over the summer. That way I can guarantee that I have it when I get back into my classroom in the fall to start unpacking. The best thing I can recommend for you to put in there is actually a box cutter. That way when you are opening up any other boxes, it's super easy for you. But I also recommend putting some basic desk supplies in there. So things like tape, a stapler, sticky notes, rubber bands, pens and pencils, anything that you might need right away. I also like to put some cleaning supplies in there. So I like to include a container of wet wipes in case anything has gotten dusty over the summer. I also like to have extra trash bags in case I do some more purging in the fall and my trash cans tend to get filled up very quickly. I like to have some extra trash bags. And I also like to include a magic eraser. Magic erasers are literally my favorite thing in the world. They are perfect for getting off pretty much anything, including Sharpie. So I always like to have some on hand. I also like to put a small notebook in mine. That way I have paper in case I need to make any lists in the fall or I have any ideas that come to me. Tip number 12, kind of along the same lines, I recommend making a first week box. So that first week box is going to have everything you need for the first week of school. I definitely like to include open house materials. So things like sign-in sheet, meet the teacher letter, classroom handbook, my class dojo letter. I like to include a small treat that I'm going to give to the students, laminated name tags, and sharpened back to school pencils. I also like to have first week of school activities that I know 100% I'm going to do. Things like a coloring sheet for the first day of school, things like all about me activities that are pretty general that I can use throughout the week. And then I like to have my classroom rules handbook. It's like a flip book that me and my students fill out together the first week. I also recommend making copies of any assessments that you have to give your students. So that can be things like unit tests that you give every single year no matter what, but also things like BAS or DRA. If you have printables for those that you need for testing, make sure you have enough copies so that you're not scrambling in the fall. I also like to prep materials for daily 5, so things like my writing journals, my word work activities, and any reading logs or reading calendars that I may use. You also can include any birthday supplies that you're going to give to your students. So if you give them a certificate or a pencil, include that in your first week box that it's ready to go for the whole year and you just have to fill it out with their names. And I even like to include all of my clothespins that I'm going to use for my clip chart. Tip number 13 is to use plastic tablecloths for covering bulletin boards. Now in years past, I've always used just those cheap plastic tablecloths that you can get at the dollar store to cover bulletin boards and cover anything that's like open in my classroom that I want to be covered so it doesn't collect dust. However, I actually went to Dollar Tree today because I wanted to see what other materials they had that I could possibly use. So I'm going to show you a couple of the things I found. So obviously I did get some of just the plain plastic tablecloths. These are perfect, like I said, for covering your bulletin boards. And what's great is that they can be cut. So no matter what size your bulletin board is, you can just cut it to be that size. And then I also got this shower curtain liner. So essentially it's just a big sheet of plastic, and this one actually says it's magnetic and it includes magnets. So I'm not sure exactly how that works. I'll have to open it up and check it out. But I thought that this would be great for covering like big open things you have that you don't want to get dusty. I know personally in my classroom, I have a cart that has tubs of books and I don't want them to get all dusty over the summer. So this would be great for opening up and just laying over top to help protect it. And kind of the same as the shower curtain liner, in case you couldn't find that, I also found this tablecloth protector. So again, it's basically just a sheet of plastic that you can lay over top of anything that's open in your room that you don't want to get super dusty. I also found these heavy duty plastic storage bags. Now I haven't opened them, so I don't know how heavy duty they actually are, but it's essentially just this big plastic bag with a handle. And this is the large size, but it does say that it's available in 3 different sizes. It says large, extra large, and extra, extra large. My Dollar Tree only had the large size, but I thought that this would be great for storing away any manipulatives or just like big objects you have in your classroom and you don't have a container for. I thought that these would work really well. All right, don't make fun of me for this last one, but I did get a pack of plastic shower caps. This is a 12 pack for $1, and I thought that this would be great for covering any containers that don't have lids, specifically things like my book bins. Obviously, I don't want to take all of my books out of my book bins that are in my library. Now this year I have to because I'm moving classrooms, that's a different story. But if I was staying in my classroom, I don't want to unpack all of my books and then put them back into the book bins. I want to leave them in the container that they're in, but I also don't want them to get super dusty over the summer. So I thought that these would be great just for putting over top of those bins to keep them nice and protected. Tip number 14 is to use painter's tape. So I did mention that I label all of the furniture in my classroom and I just stick a piece of tape down. Do not use masking tape because over the summer, especially if there's no air conditioning and things get hot, masking tape tends to like bake and it will literally stick and stay stuck to whatever you put it on. But if you use painter's tape, it will come off very easily. Plus you can actually use it on the walls as well. My last tip, tip number 15, is to reward yourself. When you are packing up your classroom, you have so much to do and it's so tiring and you've already had a very exhausting year. So you deserve to take time for yourself, reward yourself, even if it's every day, that's okay. Like you deserve it. So do things like going out for a walk if the weather's nice. Give your students extra recess, even if they don't deserve it, but you just need some fresh air. Give them extra recess. Go get your nails done. Go buy summer clothes. Do something that makes you feel good because you have worked hard all year long and you deserve it. All right, that is all that I have for you guys. So I really hope you found these tips helpful. If you had any of your own tips that you wanted to add, please leave a comment down below. I would love to hear them. If you are interested in any of those checklists that I showed you, those are part of my end of the year organizational pack on TBT, and that is linked for you down in the description. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you did enjoy it. Share it out to any of your teacher friends who may find it helpful as well. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already so you don't miss any future videos. Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate your support so much. Have a fantastic rest of the school year and I will catch you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of this video and for supporting my YouTube channel. If you want to check out any of my older videos, you can use the 2 links right down here. If you want to subscribe to me so you don't miss any future videos, you can use the link right up here. In the description box, you will find links to all of my social media sites, my Teachers Pay Teachers store, and my Amazon store, and I will catch you guys in the next one.